The Vance team and the Trump team, ask them, where do they want to take America? Okay, we want to go back. Where do you want to go back to? Tell me where we're going. We're going to 1947, where blacks couldn't play in the major leagues. Are we going to 1963, where Bull Connor was fire hosing blacks at the Woolworths in Alabama? Where do you guys want to go? Tell me the America that you want to live in. Okay, because I want to live in the America of the future. Okay, I'm a lifelong Republican, and I think the Republicans have made a woeful mistake. And this is great irony. I'll share this with you. We lost the 2012 election to the political Michael Jordan, Barack Obama, right? So the Republicans, I supported Obama in '08, returned to my Republican roots in 12, supported Mitt Romney.
This is McCain, right? McCain, Obama, just
it was McCain, Obama in '08, but in 2012 it was Romney, Obama. He beat Mitt Romney, and now here we are, right? We're sitting around saying, well, what do we do? And the Republicans put out this beautiful mission statement. They said, we've got to start to look like the country. We've got to start to reflect some of the things that are going on in the country. We probably should switch our stance on immigration, make it a little bit more open. We've got to figure out a way to attract black and brown people, blah, blah. We had this very open idea. We're going to be pro-business, but we're going to be a much more inclusive party. Okay, and then the orange comet comes into the constellation, and he whips around the earth a few times, and the orange comet says, no, we got to hate immigrants. Mexicans are rapists, and what we got to do is we got to go hard white and hard right. So right and white. Okay, and now he wins because Hillary Clinton sucks at being a presidential candidate. He wins because she can't get herself to Wisconsin one time after the convention. She goes to Philadelphia, doesn't really tour Pennsylvania. She stops in Michigan a few times. Trump takes every one of those states. He loses the popular vote. He's never won the popular vote. He's never had a 50% approval rating in the country, but he goes on to win. And now we have white right versus progressive. And it's a mistake for the Republicans. The Republicans should have reformed. Republicans should have had their party move into the future, but they took their party into the past with Donald Trump. And they are in trouble because they have a declining base of people that believe in that nonsense. Now, maybe he'll make it on sexism. Maybe he'll make it on racism. He might. He's calling Vice President Harris dumb as a rock. He's calling her the DEI candidate. He has the surrogates out there calling her DEI, which means she's not good enough. She just got there because of her sexual identity or her race. That might work. We'll have to see. But the chances are it probably won't work, okay, because it's a different country than it was in 2016. I think you're going to piss a lot of people off. So you're telling women you're done with your reproductive freedoms. 14 of the 50 states, you're now done. Can't have reproductive freedom in those states anymore. We've revoked Roe versus Wade. And we think that the person that you're putting up is only there because she's black and a woman. Okay, maybe it'll work. I don't know. I don't think so. Because I'm telling you right now, I know women that are lining up with money. Look at the money that this woman has raised since the announcement. I know women that are saying, no problem, that's how you think about us, we'll be out there. And the women decide these elections, by the way. I just want to make that clear. And this is something from a very close friend that's a Republican. You have to worry, Anthony. In the last 2 days, 38,000 new young registered voters, 100,000 campaign volunteers have signed up for Kamala Harris. The initial 51 million raised is now closer to 200 million. They have way more enthusiasm than we do at this moment. Now, that could change. It's a honeymoon period. But I'm just saying, if the Republicans said, hey...
Look how crazy that is, though, Anthony. You have an assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, there's a new candidate, and all this money flows in. It's almost Hollywood-esque. Like, it's
Well, the assassination attempt was a disgusting act. I would never condone political violence in any circumstances. I'm glad that the president got out of it unwounded, although I'm sure he got affected psychologically coming that close to death. And so I feel horrific about that. But I want you to think about the assassination, however, does feel like it's 5 years ago, doesn't it?
I mean, that's how fast things move now. I
Right.
think the other interesting thing, as you were saying, I look back at the last election. I don't remember the statistics. This is not my specialty. In fact, like I said, I really try to avoid it. I part of that was I remember Mark Warner running for governor against Mark Early in the state of Virginia, and I was working for the Early campaign. And Warner and Early were so similar in their policies that it was very challenging because one was a Democrat who had turned Republican, and that was Early, and then Warner was a fiscally conservative Democrat, and so he had Northern Virginia, Mark had the rest of the state, and it was Mark Warner ended up winning by the skin of his teeth and go on to be a senator. And Early is a great man and went on to retire, and the two of them were very similar. And that was my last realm in politics. But when I look at and that's a long time ago to all of our listeners. So that was when I was in my 20s, and I'm now 46. So when I look at Florida, I do know that there was a significantly higher number of Latin votes that came in for Trump. There was more Hispanics that were voting for the Republican ticket in the last elections, and that seemed to be surging comparatively to the dialogue. And I find that interesting. And then the other point I want to make is, what do you think about the Bill Maher's of the world who have have been a progressive Democrat their entire lives, and they just seem like it's going too far into the future? I'm interested in those 2 points, just because I think as you made those, I can see that.
There's lies on both sides. So the best thing that the Republicans have going for them are the hard left Democrats. I think that's Bill's point. I've been on his show many times. I just read his book, and Bill makes the point that you're lying to people if you're telling people you're for freedom of thought and freedom of speech, when you're going to cancel people if they have a different point of view than you. You're lying to people if it's you're woke or you're broke, you're woke or it's the highway. You're lying to people if you think that America isn't a business country. What Calvin Coolidge said about America, the business of America is business, is ultimately true. And so if you're sitting there on the hard left and you're being uber progressive about everything, you're going to lose the plot. And so the hard left has destroyed the inner cities. The hard left has destroyed the urban environment. They've hurt blacks, browns, and whites because in their emphasis to try to make things quote unquote progressive and create more equity, they've destroyed the quality of life for people in the cities. And so if you're letting people, and you've got signs up in San Francisco saying, hey, no problem, just remember, you can rob people, but you got to be under $1,000 when you come out of the Louis Vuitton store. And you've got the CVS's closing in San Francisco, closing here in New York City. Is that the right approach? And so the answer to that is no. And that is cannon fire. That is ammunition for somebody like Donald Trump. And so the Fox News people, they get the drum beat out. They start beating the drum. You people are nuts. You're trying to destroy our lives. Okay. And here's the thing. And this is where I totally agree with Bill Maher. The left is trying to push their way of living and their lifestyle on us. And they shouldn't be doing that. But the right is doing the same thing, Scott. And my point is, this is an unbelievable country. This is a polyglot sort of a country. Lincoln called it the last great hope for mankind. We can all live here in the cultural norms that we want without upsetting the other people. Don't tell me how to live. Don't tell me what my sexual orientation should be. Don't tell me what my religious practices should be. And by the way, I won't tell you what yours are, So you mentioned you're a Catholic. Okay, I'm pro-life. Okay, I'm pro-life. Okay, but that's my choice. Okay, I'm not here to impose that choice on other people. That's not for me to do. Moreover, if you read the Constitution, people have freedom of religion. My religion says that life begins at inception, Although the Catholics are a little hypocritical, because if you ask a priest, you say, if life begins at inception, why don't we have funerals for miscarriages? We don't. So explain that to me, Mr. Priest, and they can't explain it. So to me, though, I'm a religious person, I'm a faithful person, but that's my choice. Okay, and so what I'm saying to people, don't put your lifestyle on me. I won't put my lifestyle on you. But the left wants to do that. The hard right wants to do that. That's why we're in the trouble that we're in. And we don't have call balls and strikes leadership where someone actually gets to the podium and says, yeah, you're going to support me. That's great. But keep your mouth shut about the way these people are living. Okay, because it's not your business, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's really challenging because I understand the ideologies. I understand the utopian world that would be great to have where, first of all, in an immigrant story, which I always love, my great-grandparents came over from Sicily, and we have opportunities. I just watched Mother Cabrini this past weekend with my son, and, it was a great story and a great movie and something that was really interesting. And watching how most immigrants are treated when they come over is a continuing challenge, right? But the storyline of actually going from something to nothing we all know, never comes from handouts. It comes from helping people actually build up or giving them opportunity to do so. And I feel like the ideologies are constantly at war with each other, because while one ideology prefers to give and keep, all of the, I want to say it the right way, because I don't want to, I'm not trying to influence somebody in what they should think, but it tends to be more of throwing money at a problem versus helping people out of the problem. And I'm more of a coach, so I've always believed as a life, I've been a longtime Boys and Girls Club board member. I run a wine festival for charity. Impact is huge. We talked about this earlier. So I get caught between the ideologies of what we want and what people will do. And that's where the challenge is. I feel like and as I've been in financial services for 20 something years, I've had clients on both ends that we've represented. And I often have them in the same room in these big events and meetings. And this is the last point I'll make. Everybody believes the same thing. Everybody wants to help homeless. Everybody wants to help the immigrants that come to the country. I believe everybody, for the most part, 90% are on the same page. Where they differ is how to do it. And that's the challenge. That's where ideology and execution get lost between the two. And I feel like that's a major challenge that people see and have in looking for the right options. If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.